Hello and welcome to the developer commentary for Alone in the Dark. My name is Mikael Hedberg and I'm the creative director. You just watched the intro to our game and it contains a lot of things that you can see harkens back to original from 1992. This is sort of a common way for us to proceed. You will notice that going forward, while hearing more of this commentary, that we often start out with something that we found in the original, and then we put a little spin on it. And the most obvious one in the intro is the frog trying to cross the road. In the original, it just crosses the road and it narrowly escapes the car, but in our game, it gets caught by an alligator and eaten. That pretty much sums up how we treated the original.
Hello, my name is Rickard Ryberg. I'm the art director for Alone in the Dark. Welcome to Derceto. Our version of Derceto is inspired by an old plantation, Belgrove, in Louisiana. Unfortunately, it's not standing today, but it uses a mix of Greek revival and Italian architectural style. And if you look closely here in the kitchen garden, you might spot some of it.
Hello everyone, I'm Frederic Reynolds, the creator of the first Alone in the Dark in 1992, and I'm so delighted to see again Derceto, and especially in this new state.
Inside the conservatory, we get our first taste for one of our main themes in the game, which is man versus nature, or human psyche versus nature. It's presented with this kind of on-the-nose metaphor of a giant tree kept inside a metal steel cage, which is this conservatory. You will find more of this theme throughout the game, but nowhere is it ever as on-the-nose as it is here. So now we're properly inside Derceto. And since this is the start of the game, we don't have our character set up yet properly. So we don't have anything good or bad. We don't have any suspicion on anyone. So we wanted to play on the idea of it might not be a great idea to just break in somewhere. So both Emily and Edward are supposed to be normal people, and you don't normally go around breaking into places that you're not allowed. So here we try to keep a little bit of that tension and maybe keep the normality while exploring the start of Derceto. So in Mag's room, we find her family Bible where she's made a few notes. We find out she has a complex relationship to faith, and it involves Christianity and also some exploration of voodoo, which is, of course, an interesting and colorful piece or theme for New Orleans. So we definitely wanted to include that. Here we find her searching for meaning, but also a way out. She, of course, is working from the background of living through the Depression and the Dust Bowl in the United States. So this is our first taste for other faiths and even the seed for the cult that she will eventually become a part of.
When the player first arrive at the Derceto, it's late sunset and the sun is setting. We chose this time of day because we wanted to use thick God rays through almost each window to emphasize the atmosphere, and also what we were after was to really convey the warmth and the sweaty atmosphere from the deep southern.
Oh, and there is some rats here just for the atmosphere. In the original game, when you see a 3D character in the game, it was meant for something. So I thought this one also could attack me. But yeah, that's good that it is only for the atmosphere.
That doesn't look safe.
I like the fact that you start the game from the first floor, which seems so more natural than what I did for the first version, because as I wanted the player just get out of the house, I needed to set it in another location, so that's why we started from the attic. But in this version, it sounds so more natural.
Lottie's room is probably the first room where we properly see how much the design of the room itself tells you about the character. We clearly see that Lottie is a part of the staff. She has her dress up. She doesn't have too many frivolous things. She's quite a serious person. And it also leans in and tells us a little bit about how and who she might be, even before we have met her. Here we are in Jeremy Hartward's room, and it's interesting to note that in the original game, he was the catalyst for the whole story to happen. The idea that he commits suicide by hanging himself in the attic is why we're playing the original game. Again, for our version, we wanted to see what if he doesn't kill himself and how would that change things. And if you play the game, you understand that it changes it maybe a little bit more than you would have thought, but that's one of the main premises of how we approached this sort of love letter to the original.
Here in Jeremy's room, you can see a lot of paintings and sculptures, which is made by Jeremy himself. Him being a kind of a madman, we tried to picture it through the theme of the room as well, mixing these geometric shapes and general chaos. And also a fun note is also the use of dark ebony throughout the room, which is symbolic for the darkness within and dark man as well. For the French Quarter, we try to incorporate aspects from liminal spaces to get a more creepy feel without it being destroyed or too much worn down, because we wanted to portray some colorful quarters from New Orleans. So yeah, I hope you find it creepy.
I always wanted to incorporate more of voodoo culture because I think it's a really exciting element that's related to New Orleans and, of course, the Caribbean. And we see a little bit of that here. We find a courtyard decorated on the basis of voodoo temples. Mainly, the most recognizable part is the veve, this sort of pattern that they use. Yeah, I think it was an exciting element that I wish we could have worked even more with.
This must be Miss Jackson's place. Let's see if we can find out more about Jeremy's talisman.
We knew early on that we wanted to make something special with the talisman to both pay homage to the original game, but also to get a cool item for the player to. It ends up being a way to open up gates to other worlds. Our talisman looks quite different. It's updated, but we still kept a lot of the design of the original for an item called the toy talisman that you can find later in the game as well. That is used to activate hidden ending.
Remember the toad in the beginning? The one getting eaten by an alligator? That would be Miss Jackson's toad, which got lost.
Miss Jackson's seance room is the oldest surviving room in the production. It was a part of what was called a proof of concept that was done during 2019. And yeah, I think it's a neat place, but for us developers, it's probably more dear than to the regular player.
Oh, I recognize this talisman. We had almost the same in the first version of the game. And this talisman is quite a special item because it is animated. Not all items you can find were animated, but this one was special because you need it at the end of the game to defeat the sorcerer. That's what he got this special treatment.